What, why, when, and occasionally where. We'll come back to those 4 words a bit later on. It's been too long since I've done one of these videos. I thought I would catch up with you guys, just let you know what I've been doing, give you a chance to comment, message me, let me know your thoughts. So recently I've been doing a bit of networking. I was at a cracking event just this morning down in Sunderland, brilliant event. I've also been attending some talks, some discussions, one of which was on AI. Really interesting discussion on if AI can help create exam questions. Not final result, because there are rules against that, but the journey towards those final results. And more interestingly, and something I'm going to touch on shortly, was the idea of the journey towards that final results. The way that often with a lot of software development, and AI is no different, how we can get to the point of thinking we've got an excellent solution, this is the way to go forward, and then we find out that the solutions don't match reality in a number of numerous ways, and we have to go occasionally back to the drawing board and take the lessons learned that we've done and then progress things in a new direction and progress things in a new way. Also went to an excellent talk on Chinese Cinebeta, which is basically incubating new businesses and empowering new businesses with technology that usually you wouldn't get as a new business, you wouldn't be able to implement, but to accelerate that business into something more mature. From my own point of view, I've been working on my website. You guys will see that hopefully in the near future. Only done a few pages so far, but it's something which I've been working on throughout December. Messaging is an important thing, and I've been working with We Are Yumi to actually help in terms of the messaging. I do a lot of messaging which was focused towards the technical sector, which everyone that is involved in my sector would understand, but actually really what I need my website to do is talk to people who aren't in my sector, to explain what I do in a more straightforward way. The other side of what I've been doing, the other side of what I've been doing is obviously working with my clients. Going back to that journey that I was mentioning with the AI and the exam questions, the talk I went to, had a very similar sort of thing with the software I've been developing for one of my clients. A few weeks ago I announced the success, mission accomplished, and it's always dangerous with software because what we were working with was some dummy data that we expected wouldn't be close to what we'd get in reality. And we went through several variations that we thought would match the potential cross-section of the real data. In the end, when the news automation interacted with the real data, there were issues that we didn't anticipate. And what I should have done straight away is pulled it back and been like, okay, let's get as much real world data as we can and let's fix the issues all in one go. Instead, we went through too many days of iterations where the client would identify an issue, I would fix that specific issue. The client next day would find another slight issue, I would fix that. And these things erode confidence because even though the system was working at 98% correct and as expected, and the main elements it was doing, those 2%, those ones where the data format isn't quite as expected, positioning of certain elements weren't quite where they should be, the end result, where we were putting data into, they made some changes that we didn't expect. These things, if you don't grab a hold of it quickly enough, can really erode confidence, where every day there's a new slight issue, rather than which I did for the weekend, pulling it all back and going, okay, let's work through the issues, let's look at all the tests, all the real world data we now have, and then progress it. So going back to that what, why, when, and occasionally where, been working with a new client been doing some discovery sessions with them. It's always interesting because one of the things I try and do with all my clients, providing they're open to it, is process map what they do. So when we come to implement a new system, new setup, I know where that system's going to sit and how it's going to progress. And this usually happens in two different stages. One, there's a 40-minute meeting where we just go through what the business does. And from that, I can create a pretty accurate but top level process map of where the business starts, where the business, what the business is delivering, and the general steps of getting there. And then the 2-day discovery is really asking those questions. The what are you doing? So explain this step in more detail. Explain why you're doing it. And then the when. When in the process does this actually happen? And occasionally we get to the where in the business. Is it happening in the office? Is it happening in the warehouse? Is it happening on the manufacturing shop? Is it happening in the stores? But the where could also be where in terms of through which systems is this happening, or the where could be in which data storage is this being recorded, or which Excel sheet, or you can see the general where we're going with this. And it's always interesting because as you do this with a client, you're taking them out of the chaos from the day-to-day, because how businesses work, how everyone works, myself included, is you do a lot of firefighting. You go through everything in a way that enables you to get to the end product, get to the delivery for that particular client, the end of the particular process. And that chaos becomes a standard way of doing things. But it's not until someone external like myself asks you the specific questions about why you're doing something or when you're doing something that you're able to take a step back and actually see the process from above. See that winding path that goes through the forest, which is all the touch points that you have decided over the years that this way of doing it, but actually seeing the forest from above and seeing the way that path could run if you did things slightly differently. The wins is such a good example because occasionally you're gathering information at a certain point that could have been gathered earlier. You could have asked the client at the beginning, or when the client was filling out a form, you could have asked them at that point, or when the designer was doing something, they could have added some extra information. That meant that later in the process, you wouldn't need to be gathering the information at this point in time. Why is it's always good to ask why. Businesses know they should, but when you're in the chaos, the day-to-day firefighting to get to the end point, you don't always ask, why am I doing this? Am I doing this because I've always done this? Am I doing this because that one time had an issue and I do this now to mitigate that potential issue that actually only comes up once every 6 months? But this why is now taking me 20 minutes every time I do something. Is there a better way to mitigate that once every 6 month issue rather than the extra 20 minutes every other day? So by taking businesses through this, what are you doing? So explain it to me what you're doing, why you're doing it, when you're doing it, where in the business or the system or the exact file. Allows not only myself to see what the business is doing and allows me to be able to, from an analog point of view, find efficiencies. A lot of those efficiencies that you start discussing, a lot of those potentials in terms of new systems, comes from the managers, from the business owners who are for the first time seeing the business from a different perspective, from a different angle. One of my favourite questions is let's take a step back. Let's have a look at that, because what the person's just said is they've said, I do this, which is step A, and then I do this, which is actually step E, because in my head there's a disconnect between going from that to that. And what I'm asking when I say let's take a step back is actually, what steps B, C, and D? And often the reason why B, C, and D isn't mentioned is because in the managers, in the owner's viewpoint, they're such obvious steps. Well, I open this file and grab this information and then put it in this particular location and then I send the email. By asking, let's take a step back and going through those B, C, D and actually breaking it down, you can often open up new avenues, new efficiencies, new ways of looking at something that seemed obvious because they've always done it, because it seemed such a natural way of doing something, but actually maybe something else better, something else we could be doing in there. So if you've got a business that's got its systems all set up and you've got automations that you're happy with, it's still an opportunity, if you haven't done it in a while, to have somebody independently looking at your processes, especially if you don't have a process map. But somebody who can ask those questions and take you out of the firefighting, the general getting from one thing just to the end of the process in any way possible. Getting someone to actually take you through those steps and then analysing what you're doing it, why are you doing it, when is this the right part of the process you should be doing it, and where. Get someone to take you through those questions, and that's something I can do for you. So I hope you're well, hope you have a great rest of the week. I'm Ian from Order Technical Solutions, bringing order to chaos. If you'd like to reach me, you can do it through the usual methods in LinkedIn, Facebook Messenger, email. My phone numbers are also available. And if you'd like a coffee, just an informal chat where we can discuss how we could potentially help each other's businesses or just have a catch up, let me know. I will see you all soon. Bye for now.